So today, I've got two articles, and we'll just kind of like see what happens. They're pretty different topics. China's green economy drives 40% of their GDP growth, or Peter Thiel's drug filled Olympics.
Yep.
We'll just see what happens. So I don't think either of us was like super excited about either of these stories, but I do also kind of think that they're a little interesting and fun. So the thing that strikes me about China's GDP growth, 40% of China's GDP growth in 2023 came from the green economy. And I think this is interesting for two reasons. Their total GDP growth, I think, according to the article, is in the neighborhood of 5%. 5.2% last year. And a lot of that was driven by their green economy. And it was offsetting losses in real estate. Otherwise, they would have been at like 3%, which is considered low. So I think the main thing that this made me wonder is like, why don't we in the US want to invest more in renewable energy, the green economy? We talk a lot about, energy independence, and we know there's clearly money in these new technologies. Why do we work so hard to avoid them?
So true. I think it has to do with education. I have, from two different countries, I have two friends / family members or relatives who are in the green industry. And neither are in America. How can it be that this isn't just random? That's how normal it is across the pond to be in green energy, be it solar or air. Like it is actually specifically solar, though. It is so widespread in Europe, in the Middle East, in Africa, and of course in Asia, obviously. Like, and for so many other reasons, for so many good reasons. It's not just about decreasing our carbon emissions. It's also about or carbon footprint. It's also about like there are certain whole countries in Africa that just do not have the resources to provide continuous electricity to their citizens. Same goes for the Middle East. So you can get a portable or semi-portable solar unit that gives your household some electricity, at least a day, right? Like, it's crazy to me that we aren't pushing for this. And then on the flip side, you have a lot of European countries. They've set goals. They've committed to goals of reaching, either neutral or at a deficit of carbon emissions. And they are importing from China like crazy. Yeah.
So why do you say it's an education issue that we're not
Because
doing
in
that?
America, depending on the school, they might teach you about global warming, right? They might teach you about climate change, or they just might not. Like, and
But the information's
it's crazy
out
that,
there.
yeah,
It's being like actively suppressed. I mean, geez, you've got Trump out
we
there
are a
talking about how
we're a car-based country here.
windmills are decapitating birds and killing whales somehow.
We are a car-based
Yeah.
society.
So it's
And I
just
think
just the lobbyists, the oil lobbyists, the auto
100%.
industry. Like they just don't want us to.
They
But you'd
like
think
the
at
way
some
things are.
level, if there's that much money in green energy and green economy,
How much money
how
is there
can
in
we
oil?
avoid that? 30% of 40% of China's GDP growth last year.
Yeah, not wrong.
11 trillion dollars, I think it said.
Or 1.6 trillion, I thought it said.
Did
Did it say 11?
Oh, 11.4 trillion yuan.
Won, yeah.
Yuan, $1.6 trillion dollars.
Yeah. Huge amounts of money. I mean, that is a massive number. Like, does that?
Yeah.
Anyway,
I'd like to see more adoption, I think,
I would like to see that too. I would also like to see less oil and fossil fuel lobbying in America. That would be kind of cool.
Yeah.
Now, don't get me wrong. I mean, I love cars and I love gas-driven cars. Like, cars are super fun, but we have to get to a point where like we're saying, okay. And I guess with cars specifically, look at the incentives some states and the federal government has put out for purchasing a fully electric car. It started with hybrids and then it's moved into electric. Like, and then there's some states that are like, we'll incentivize the shit out of you to put solar panels on your roof, right?
Yeah.
Offset some of the grid costs. Like, we are seeing it, but it doesn't feel like there is the same urgency.
Yeah.
Here, I mean.
But at the same time, 2023, $7 trillion in fossil fuel subsidies.
Yep.
$2.2 billion in corn subsidies, or 50 billion, 4% of the 50 billion. Yeah. So even if you say like, hey, look, say we don't want to subsidize fossil or green energy, well, at least stop subsidizing fossil fuels. Right. I think they're pretty well established industry. They're doing okay. We don't need to keep sending them free subsidy money. But
yeah, I just don't see it. Like, I don't think that it's going to happen.
Yeah.
Anyway,
the other story we had that seems fun. Peter Thiel's funding new Olympics where athletes can take performance-enhancing drugs. What could possibly go wrong? From Futurism.com.
So what could possibly go wrong? I mean, if this passes, as in if this doesn't get shut down from a government.
Yeah, it's hard to believe it wouldn't.
A heart attack will occur.
For sure.
Guaranteed, at the very least, a collapse will occur.
Yeah, they call it the enhanced games. And amazing. I don't know if it's like a total free-for-all, but basically their argument is that the Olympics are anti-science because we have the ability to biology, enhance performance, right. So why shouldn't we do it? Which honestly, and I wish Peter here was here to defend himself on this, almost feels like the argument Peter makes about like, maybe AI is just the next evolution of humanity. So
sure.
If we can use performance-enhancing drugs, why shouldn't we?
I almost agree. It's very cyberpunk. And what I mean is, like, it should be a free-for-all, like you said. There should be zero limitations on enhancements because it will devolve into, like, cyber implants. Dudes replacing their hips with, like, titanium and engines and stuff. Like, electric motors to go faster. Like, run at cheetah level sprints. So I just think that it could be really cool and terribly like dystopian.
Well,
I'm so in.
Sure, it would be a riot to watch, but is it? I don't know. I guess you have to look at like what's the point of the competition? If it's to watch people destroy their bodies trying to entertain us, then have at it. But if you think of like NASCAR or Formula One, they have very strict regulations on the design of the cars so that you can keep it a skill competition between the drivers and not let it just be whoever can throw the most money at it. And I think that's part of the point of the Olympics is to make it like a true competition, not just a race to see who can consume the most performance enhancing drugs without dying.
Yeah, it's basically the same thing where your body's the car, right? There's a limit to how much you can put in it before you shut down. So there'll be a dance of that. But also like there's anytime it's kind of like a Russian roulette sort of sport where when you're using enhancement drugs of any sort, you are risking your health. Yep. And sometimes you are risking death, right? Your heart can only pump so much at such a BPM that before, it might fail. It literally might stop. Like, I would be very into watching something like this just from the future. Sure. Like in 30 years, like we might actually see some crazy shit. Dude's got rockets for legs, like who knows? I don't know. I'm really excited. Yeah.